Greetings, everyone. My name is Reggie, and as you know, I am a business owner. I've been doing real estate for some time now, but I wanted to definitely talk about something that is intriguing, but also affects us as individuals on a psychological level when it comes down to mental health. Because a lot of us, we work so much on our craft, we work so much on our professions, we work so much on the job or what we are aspiring to do in our lives. But we have to take a step back and sit down to reevaluate our mindset, our purpose, and who we are internally. So I brought on a awesome, renowned Marian Hanson from the UK. She is a phenomenal counselor. She also has her own YouTube channel, and she's been doing this for some years now. And Miss Mary, I want to tell you welcome and thank you for being here today.
Thanks for having me today. Yeah, I'm happy to be here.
Yes, indeed. And how long have you been in the counseling profession? For how long you been doing this for
I've
now?
been a counsellor for 14 years, and so I started off just doing general counselling, which would mean that anyone that phoned up and wanted counselling, I would speak to them. And but then I realised that you can't really specialise in absolutely every single mental health issue, and there's going to be some areas that you are better in. So I specialise now in anxiety, low self-esteem, depression, stress, and relationships. So even though that's still a lot, it narrows it down because there's probably some counselors out there that are just general and they will literally see everyone. So yeah, it's been 14 years. I can't believe it's been that long. Yeah.
Wow, that is a long time. So what inspired you to become a counselor?
I started off as I think I know we've spoken before. I started off, I qualified as a chef out of like college when I was like 16 to 18. And then I thought I enjoy cooking and that sort of thing, but I didn't feel that it was like my purpose. I wasn't connected because I wasn't working with people. So then I trained as a social worker. And so I've been a social worker as well for 22 years. And there was just something missing because I was helping families as a social worker, but I think there's more. And so I had to decide whether I was going to go into psychology or counseling. It was just the idea of being able to really help people in the way that I want to, but also um, just connect with people on a different level because counseling is so powerful. Therapy, when someone you've never met, complete stranger, and you can build that rapport, whether it's in the counseling room or just over the screen, and it's just the power that that brings to the person to mean that they can change their lives. So yeah, I love it. I still love it now as much as I did 14 years ago. So yeah.
Wow. And how was your transition from being a social worker, he said, for 20 something years versus
Yeah.
moving over into the world of counseling for people? How was that transition between?
Well, I didn't transition straight away from that because what happened is I was still doing social work, but I knew I wanted to move into counselling. So for a number of years, it was this battle of, well, I'm a social worker and that's where the money is and that's what I've got the experience in. So I was doing counselling on the side for a good 5, 10 years. I was doing both. And then I got to a crunch point where I said, you know what, I can't do both because they're both intense careers. So I made a decision and I just said, I'm just going to focus all my energy into counseling. And I still, if I do with my coaching, because I'm a coach as well, I'll do parent coaching sometimes and I'll use my social work skills. But counseling is sort of where I've put all my energy into. So yeah.
Wow, wow. So social worker to counseling, you also do coaching as well.
Yeah, like I qualified as a coach in 2017. I did an intense 7 day, I don't know how many hours, but it was literally from 9 in the morning till 9 o'clock at night at a retreat. And I got it's for self-worth and confidence coaching that I do. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, you have a lot of different hats that you worn,
Yeah. Yeah.
but they was like stepping stones to make you who you are today in your profession.
Yeah. Yeah, they're all linked. So when I'm working as a counselor, a therapist, if I'm using a certain approach, And that's why I think for me, over the years, I've developed my own way of working as a therapist. So some people would come to me and they would say, this is not the type of therapy I want, because it might not be this is what someone described therapy as, counselor leaning their head to the side and doing this. That's not me. So there's times where I'll integrate my coaching, so it might be a bit more direct, but then there's other times where I might just have to sit and let the person, explore. There's other times where I'm using different approaches. So yeah, it's coaching has really helped me because I can integrate that if it's the right client who needs a bit more guidance. So yeah.
Wow, wow. I like how you said you had different techniques, because there's not a one size shoe that fits all for each person. I know some things I heard is CBT therapy, cognitive behavior therapy.
Yeah.
What are some other ones from your side that you deal with?
Yeah. So we've got solution focused. So solution focused therapy is very specific as well, because you're just working towards a solution. So it's very direct. It's similar to CBT because you have the problem, you are wanting the solution, and then you're working towards that. You're not going off all over the place talking about other things. You have a set goal that you want to achieve, and it's also short term mostly. Then you've also got person centered, which just means someone's talking and you believe that the person has their own answers. So if that person has enough time, they're not judged, they are given the right conditions, so they build a good rapport with their counsellor. This approach says that people will come to their own solutions. And you'll sometimes see in therapy, you'll see a person who has been coming to see you for a while, and all of a sudden they'll say, I didn't think about that before. And it's just clicked why this keeps happening. So we do have the answers sometimes within us. And then the other approach, psychodynamic, just means you're going back to your past, your childhood stuff. So psychodynamic just means that you're looking at your childhood, you're looking at things that have affected you from the past and how they're affecting you now. But it's going really far back. It's deeper than that. You have to have a lot of training for psychodynamic therapy, but it is really about digging deep to the relationships you had with your parents and how that has influenced who you are as an adult. And you talk about that as well. So yeah, and there's loads of approaches. I mean, but I trained integratively, which means I trained with the main approaches, which was really good because it means that I can use them as I need to. Some people specialize in just one and they are a purely CBT counselor or a pure person-centered, but I didn't want to do that because that can limit you. If you come across someone who that approach doesn't fit with, then you might be stuck, because if that's the only approach you know and use.
You hit something heavy that I noticed that's kind of becoming, I won't say popular, but it's kind of coming up more and more through online and social media, things of nature. There's that psychodynamic one. You hit something very heavy. That goes more into the esoteric world. They call it shadow work.
Yeah.
And with that goes into Carl Jung.
Yeah.
And he's actually one of my favorites psychologists of all time, because he started out as psychologist in a certain way, but then he started going back to the metaphysical alchemist side of psychology, where it intertwined into one. And wow, it's heavy. It's very heavy.
There's a lot there. And I think, and that's why when a client comes to a counselor, if they've never had therapy before, or even if they have an expectation of what they want, it's about the counsellor has to spend that time helping the person, first of all, to understand what therapy is sometimes. Then you have to build that rapport. Without a rapport with your clients, they're not going to trust you. They're not going to open up. They're not going to be vulnerable. So there's so much that goes into it. And that's why I like it. Sometimes it can work. Sometimes it doesn't always. When you go on Facebook, sometimes you'll see people saying, I would never have therapy again because my counsellor didn't listen, or therapy was really bad because my therapist let me down, or what. But it's a really, you have to trust the therapy, the process, and your counselor. And that takes a lot for people. That's why a lot of people will never probably access counselling. They don't want to be that vulnerable with someone, and they don't trust the process or their counsellor enough. So yeah, it takes a lot to and there's times where even for me, I have to say, right, I can notice there's a disconnect between me and this client. Is it something I'm doing, or how can I build the rapport? Sometimes if it's appropriate, I might put a joke in there or show my personality. Sometimes it might just be that I'm very serious and not showing that much of a personality. Other times it's just be quiet. It's really tricky to get the balance because everyone's human and everyone's individual.
Mm,
So yeah.
wow. One of the things I noticed too that you do on your channels, I watch your material. You have books that you talk about.
Yeah.
Man,
So
so tell me
what happened is, yeah, years ago, I started my channel and really it was just once a week I was posting counseling topics, so anything. Then this year I decided I was just going to do book reviews once a week. So I do a book review on a Monday. And what's been good is I recommend those books to my clients. So many of my clients have bought books. They've been like, yeah, the book's in the post, I bought it. They're all books that are really in the area that I work in, except there's a few money books, financial books, but apart from that, they're all to do with stress, self-esteem, self-development. I'll read the book, I'll post the review, and then if it's a good book, if I feel it's good, I'll recommend it to clients. But yeah, it's been really valuable because it's even helped me with my knowledge that I can then share with my clients because it makes me a better counselor then by learning.
wow.
Yeah.
Wow. There's one book
There's one book.
I've heard of already. It's called Feelings Buried Alive.
Oh, I've not heard of that one. I'll have to make a note of that. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Um,
Okay.
this book I heard about through someone online in regards of how a lot of feelings that we have are buried deep within the brain, and then when they're buried deep within the brain or the mindset, the body takes the score internally, and it internalizes where you think, well, I'm sick today, or I may, God forbid, I have cancer. It's because of
Yeah.
pent up, repressed emotions that have went down in the body, and you're not expressing it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, that
you agree
definitely
with that, right?
sounds 100%. Stress, you carry stress with you, and you can tell the difference between someone, even with how they walk, their body language, even just their personality, if they're carrying stress. Like, so it could be, in their shoulders, it could be that they're constantly on edge, it could be, that the movements or whatever it is. But yeah, if something is affecting you, even if you've been through something traumatic, grief is a good example. When
Mm,
you're grieving, as much as you want to try and push past that grief, as much as you want to try to tell yourself, I'll be okay, I'm not going to cry, I'll move past it. When grief takes over your body and just takes over your mind, the impact is it's like nothing else. I mean, I've been through bereavements, but anyone that has been, it's like that you're trying to suppress it and say, I'll be okay, I'll go back to work, I'll carry on as normal, but your body won't allow you to because the trauma is that like too strong, too powerful. So yeah, it's the same as with stress. If you're going through a stressful situation and you keep pretending that you're not, so maybe it's work stress, which lots of people go through, stress in your relationship, domestic violence,
mm.
anything that is causing you loads of amount of stress. People sometimes don't want to stop and work on it or work through it. They'll say, I'll just push through, I'll just push through. And then all of a sudden that's when people have breakdowns or where they collapse or where they forget things or they start to, it just affects you because your body can't handle it and your mind can't handle it. At some point something's going to break.
Wow. That is a lot to unpack, what you just said right there. And at least my next question, what do you see as a counselor most people are coming to you for, the work professionals, business owners, and or couples? What's like the leading thing you're dealing with right now recently?
So for business owners, and especially since the pandemic and people working from home as well, that is massive. People are struggling with the idea of working from home and not seeing people as much. And even as a business owner, you almost have to you have to put the work in and say to yourself, if you're a solo worker, solopreneur, they call it, or, you know, a sole trader, because I am, and I've, as a counsellor, counselling is one of the professions where you work individually, because all it is you and your clients, you know, unless you're doing group work. You almost have to put things in place from the start. So if you know you're going to be working as a business owner in a business on your own, you know there's going to be stress. You know you're going to be overworked. I can't count my hours of work that I do. Sometimes I'll get up at 6. I remember a few days this week, I've been up at 6 and I've still been working at 9. And I've had to say to myself, 9 o'clock at night, now you need to put the laptop down. But I could have carried on for another 2 hours. You know, you don't even calculate the amount of hours you work because you're always working. Even tonight, even today, I've got up early. I've been working. Literally, I was still working all the way up to probably half an hour before this. Because it's just because it's within us, and we have to sometimes stop ourselves and say, look, stop, take a break. So burnout is a big thing. Stress, just to do with the amount of responsibilities you have. Isolation, self-esteem and self-doubt, you know, worrying about, is my business going to fail? Am I good enough? If someone doesn't buy the product, I work with lots of clients who don't believe in their product or don't believe in themselves enough. So they're constantly questioning, are they good enough? So it's things like that really that are coming up for people.
Wow. 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 Yeah, that self-doubt can be a silent, I would say a silent confidence killer, because if you don't have self-confidence, it's going to have a domino effect in other areas of your life, including
Yeah.
making decisions. Especially as a business owner, you have to be poised with making decisions, because if you're
Yeah.
passive, you're going to be scared to make a decision like, well, should I hire this person, or should I
Mhm.
expand, or should I just retract what I'm doing? And then if you don't make the right decision, your business is going to take a hit, you're going to take a hit
Mhm.
personally, and then everything just kind of crescendos in a downward spiral. And you mentioned some good points there, because I mean that burnout is huge. I've worked,
Oh, yeah. Mhm.
man, I can tell you I worked in corporate America at one time. Of course, I'm a business owner too now.
Yeah.
But I worked in the corporate America for at least about 15, maybe 20 years before, and also prime military. And what I noticed is that these folks will take these titles and these positions, and literally when they take the titles positions, they literally just embodying this title, and they are living it so much they forget about themselves. I've
Mhm.
even seen a poor mayor, or one guy I worked with, he worked so hard that all he wanted was to get an award for what he was doing at that particular location, when really his marriage took a hit because he wanted his award. All this stuff took a hit. Guy gained weight, he had a nervous breakdown, and I'm like, oh wow, just
Yeah.
to meet the standards for this job, when really any day they can fire and let you go.
I think it's tough because when you're in it, you don't see that you're in it. Because even for me, sometimes I know that I'm a workaholic. I own it. For 20 years. I don't know how I've been going so long, but I have been. But because I'm aware of it, I know when my boundaries are. So for me, Sundays, I'll try to take off. Sometimes for the role I'm doing as a telephone counsellor, once a month we have to work a weekend. We have to work a Saturday or Sunday. But majority of the time, Sundays I'll either rest or I'll go and do something with family. Saturday evenings, most of the time that is a cut-off point as well. Even Saturday afternoons. So I'll work, if I work on a Saturday, it will be in the mornings mostly. Friday evenings as well, the same. I'll cut. So you have to put boundaries in place, but I can understand burnout and how it catches up with people, because for me, I do a lot of things that prevent burnout. So I'll have my vitamins, I'll drink a lot of water, I'll do exercise when I can, I'll go for walks when I can. There's loads of things I put in place throughout the week, habits and behaviors that prevent probably burnout, because if I didn't, then I probably would be burnt out as well because of the amount of hours that I work in a week. So
Mm,
yeah, it's but it's tough. It creeps up on you, and that's what lots of people say. People who've got extreme exhaustion or burnout, they didn't see it coming, or they were aware of it, but they didn't know that they were just going to collapse one day, or that they were going to physically not be able to get out of bed. That's how when you have extreme exhaustion, that is like you can't even, you almost feel like you're drunk. That's what people say. You can't move, and then so it's worth preventing if you can. So it is worth putting things in place. Yeah.
wow, wow. I guess with that too, you said in regards of the burnout and collapsing and things of that nature there, what are some of the symptoms that people need to notice before that even happens? So they don't go into, I'm
Mm.
just gonna collapse. What are some things they can do
Mm.
as a solutions to help them?
I'd say that burnout, some of the key things would be that you're more irritable, so you're not yourself, and the irritability comes from the fact that you every single task that you would normally do happily, willingly, it's another thing. You become overwhelmed. You have so many things to do that you can't do anything, so you stop. That people have said this thing where they become detached. Maybe they'll just stare at the screen. They can't do anymore. They can't physically take anymore. Forgetful, loss of concentration. So making little mistakes, that's a big one. If you're making mistakes on little things that you could normally do, maybe you put salt in your tea instead of sugar, simple things like that, or you press the wrong button, you press send, and so it's things like that. It's not even necessarily so much the tiredness, but it is if you've had like a long sleep, 10 hours sleep, and you still wake up and you still feel tired, then that could also be burnout. Aches and pains, just feeling nauseous, like so just feeling dizzy. Some people have spoken about having like little spots they can see, like black spots, because they're so like in their screens so much. There's loads of symptoms, but I think it's about prevention. It's always better with stress as well. It's about preventing, putting good habits in place, meditation,
Mm,
short breaks, hydrate, keeping yourself hydrated, getting, even if it means that you stay in touch with family and friends. I don't see my family and friends as much as I could, but I see them. The other day I got up really early. My nephew is going off to university soon. So I got up really early, drove all day. It was so funny. He was not happy with me. Knocked on the door. It was about 8 o'clock in the morning. No one would answer the door. And then he came like rubbing his eyes. But I needed to see him because he's going to be going off 3 hours away. I don't know when I'm going to see him again, probably Christmas. But it is, and same as if my family are doing a special event, if it's really special, birthdays I'm there for, special things. But yeah, as business owners, that's another thing, making time for things outside of the business. We have to do that.
mm, okay, okay. Now I'm gonna jump over to couples. When it comes down
Yeah.
to couples, one of the things that you notice that's a big factor right now.
So for couples, the key things, in fact, I'm in the process of making a video about that as well. The top things for couples really is communication is a big one that they come for couples counselling. Poor communication, intimacy issues, that's always been in the top three. Um, Responsibility, so housework, or childcare, that causes a lot of division, and growing apart. So meaning that you just are not on the same page anymore, and that comes under goals as well. So say if you got together 10 years ago and you were on the same page, you had the same values, you wanted the same things. 10 years later, if this person is saying, no, I don't, I want to live abroad, or I want to go back to university and get a qualification, and or whatever it is, if the partner isn't on board with that and they're like, what do you mean? This is not the life I want. That can cause like a massive thing, because you then have to decide, do I stay with this person and live their dream and
Mm,
support them, or do I walk away? And it can cause a lot of issues. So couples counselling helps with that, because it gives you the space to talk about it and to explore it, but it also gives you a chance to be honest without distractions with another person, a neutral person there to listen and to mediate. Because me as a couples counsellor, I want the best for the couple. I love working with couples because I want the best for them, but also you don't take sides. You're fighting for them as well in their relationship. So yeah.
Wow. Wow. Man, I was picking up what you was putting down. You was talking about intimacy issues. What are some things you know when it comes down to couples of intimacy issues? Is much more of lack thereof, or one partner wanting more intimacy than the other one? What are some of the things that you notice?
Well, because intimacy, people sometimes just think about sex. But
Hmm.
you know what? Intimacy is on so many different levels that it's usually the couples that are coming for counselling because they don't even want to be, there's no affection at all. So it starts with little things. We don't kiss anymore. We don't even have time to we sleep in separate rooms. I can't remember the last time we went on a date or where we held hands. I can't remember. The connection's missing. So intimacy is a closeness. I was saying this to someone the other day. I've been in relationships where I'm sat next to that person. We don't even have to speak. We don't even have to, we just feel the electricity between me and that person with them just sat next to me is so like, you just feel so connected. That's intimacy to me, is like, because you can feel it. So lots of couples have lost that spark, they call it. And so what they want to do is regain that. So in couples counselling, you're starting from the beginning. It's not even about sex at that stage. It's about how do you feel about each other. It's about things like getting used to touching each other, even if it's just instead of sitting on separate chairs, instead of sleeping in different rooms, instead of like saying it's Wednesday night, so this is when we have sex. It's the little things. It's surprising your partner, and physical touch is one of the best ways to do that. Coming up behind someone and just touching them gently, or giving them a kiss on the neck, or all of that gets lost. But sometimes it's because the couples are arguing all the time, or they've just grown apart, or children and life gets in the way, so they lose that. So they just become like flatmates, or they just become still, yeah, we're married, we're a couple, but we're not really connecting.
Mm. So essentially, they forget, I guess, what brought them together initially. What was that spark? And literally, they're just living life, just going with the flow, losing
Yeah.
themselves without bringing back to the basics of the relationship, right?
Yeah, because there's romance is still there between them. Because a lot of couples will still say, I feel attracted to my spouse. It's not even that. It's not that they lose the attraction. It's like you said, if you're just because the whole beauty of being in a relationship really is that side, the fun. It's having someone to do things with. It is the sex. It is the intimacy. So when you take all that away, there's no fun because you're always just talking about rotas and who's done the housework. There's no sex or intimacy, so it's just you're sat there watching TV, but it's like two strangers on a sofa. There's no fun, no one laughs anymore. It's always arguments. What is left? So sometimes people have to unpick their relationship and say, well, where's all the good stuff gone? Let's put all the good stuff back, because all we're doing right now is arguing, and all we've got is the negative stuff. So that's what couples counselling can help with, because it can help people to say, why are you still together? What led you towards each other? And when you do an exercise with a couple and you ask them questions, oh, you've been together 10 years, what makes it work? Or I see the way you look at each other, you can tell there's respect there, or what first attracted you to that person. Then it helps them to realize why they're still together, why they're with that person.
Mm, okay, okay. The other thing I want to ask about couples is, I guess, this is a lot to unpack. Is when they're together, what are things that they can, I guess, see as symptoms when the problems are arising? What can they do to say, hey, hold up, let's recheck ourselves before it goes to the next level?
Mm. Yeah, that's the tricky one. I think that comes from self-awareness as a
Okay.
person, because if you're aware of what you're doing, like as a good example, this is a good example. If you're stressed because your work is stressing you out, but you keep coming back from work in a stressed mood and you're shouting at the children because you're stressed, you're saying to your partner, I don't want to talk right now because I'm stressed, but you don't ever tell them, anything about it, or you're keeping people at arm's length, or you're so stressed that you're just in an angry mood. You as a person have to say, I know that I'm stressed. And then you identify the issue. I'm stressed because I'm stressed at work.
Mhm.
As a responsible person, that means you do something about it. You're stressed. so that it doesn't impact on your relationship, because you value your relationship more. And you know that if you deal with the stress and you become the person you want to be, then it will benefit the relationship. But most people don't do that. What happens is you've got two people that are probably going through different things that are causing stress. They don't talk to each other. They don't deal with what's causing stress. They bring it into the relationship. And after so many arguments, and so much irritability and so much anger and projection, both people just say, I've had enough. He's always angry. He's always shouting, or she's always nagging at me, and it's not my fault. And then it just falls apart. So what you got to do is not allow external things, or not even allow internal things, to impact on your relationship. If you value your relationship, you treat it as being too precious to hurt, to ruin, then you work on yourself. Excuse me, my voice is
good. You're good.
My voice is going. Yeah,
You're fine.
Okay.
Now, you said self-awareness. That actually leads into boundaries, right? And I can be honest, I go to a therapist once a month. I'm a big proponent of therapy. Even if you are doing fine, we need those tune-ups within ourselves on a
Yeah.
psychological level. So one of the things I was learning, it said you have to have self boundaries and boundaries within the relationship. So one of the things I want to ask you is, you being a couples therapist or counselor, is what are the boundaries as a couple that you must have up front in order to be a successful relationship or marriage?
Yeah. I think you have to you have to be honest about where you are at when you come into that relationship, because what sometimes happens is people don't express the baggage that they're bringing in, because they want that person so someone might say on a first date, I've been hurt in all of my relationship. You're not going to hurt me, are you? And no one's going to answer, yes, I'm going to hurt you. They're all going to say no. So I mean, it's because it's kind of like, why are you asking that? But the point is, because I've got quite a lot of couples who I've worked with over the years where trust issues and insecurities are a big thing. Now, if you're coming in with that already, that's baggage, and you haven't worked through that, you're expecting too much from your partner from the off, because what you're trying to say is, I'm bringing all of this on my back and we're bringing it into the relationship, and you have to heal me with all of this. And they can't do that because they don't know what your history is, and they can't deal with your insecurities you've had since you were like 10 years old, or the fact that every boyfriend you've had's cheated on you. They can't like do anything about that. So then what happens is the new partner is doing their best, and they're trying their best to show you that they're a good person, but you're kind of sabotaging it because of what you've been through. You don't trust it. You don't trust. So the boundary would be that you have to either be clear about what you want, and you say to your partner, look, if I'm being irrational with some of the things I'm saying, I want you to tell me. Because I've been in relationships where I've said to someone, do you know what? Sometimes I can be too opinionated. Sometimes I can be too stubborn. Tell me. Just say, Marianne, you're being stubborn. Because then that's helping them to know your, personality. Boundary wise as well is about taking responsibility for your actions. How I see it is that you're an individual. You're also in a relationship, so you're responsible for yourself. You're responsible for sometimes your partner, because you've chose to enter that relationship, but you're mostly responsible for the relationship as a whole. So if every person goes into it in that way, I won't do anything to hurt my partner intentionally. I won't do anything that's going to hurt myself by letting my partner mistreat me or whatever. And I won't do anything that will hurt the relationship. That's when sometimes cheating wouldn't happen, or other things, because you would say, if I cheat, I'll let myself down because it means it's not good for me to do that. I'll hurt my partner, but I'll hurt the relationship as a whole. So do you know what I mean? So for me, if I'm in a relationship, I hold the value in that relationship by saying, I'm not going to do anything that will damage it. So I'm not going to go to my friends gossiping about my boyfriend. I'm not going to cheat. I'm not going to do anything which I feel will hurt the relationship.
You brought up something in regards of that's very important, is sharing a gossip about the relationship to the boyfriend or to the boys. That is like
Mm.
emotional infidelity.
Yeah,
Just as bad
can
as physically cheating, because you're talking about how bad they are, and then what you put out comes back to you.
Oh yeah, and it doesn't serve any purpose either. It does not serve any purpose. Your friends are not therapists, and also they might love the relationship, but they love you more. Your friends and family will always be biased. So when you're in a bad mood because your partner has done something, going to them will give you validation because you can say, "Yeah, he did this and she did this," and your friends are going to go, "Yeah, get rid of him and go." But what they don't realize is they're hyping you up about how bad this relationship is. But then when you go back to your partner, you've still got that energy, like you just said, you've got that energy because your friends have, and then some people will say, well, my friends don't like you anyway, or my friends told me to leave you. It's not good. If you've got a problem with the relationship, speak to a therapist who will keep it confidential, who will keep it neutral. I've never said anything bad about someone's partner. I'll always talk about the behavior based on what my client's bringing, and we'll discuss that. I always even say, I don't know your partner, he's not in the room, or from what you're saying to me, this is how it's impacting on you, but I'm not going to talk about their partner. And I think, people just need to be careful. You can offload to friends and family, but don't say bad things about your partner. And then when you get back together, expect them to see your partner in the same way. They're gonna look at him or her in a negative way because that's what you've done. So
Mm,
that's a boundary. That's a clear boundary that most people should have.
wow. And how has social media impacted relationships and marriages now? I know that's a big one right now.
Where do you? That's that's a 2 hour show. Um, Accessibility. I think. Do you know what though? My personal view is that temptation has always existed, even before social media. When we live in a world where there is opposite sex, you can go on a beach and you can see people in bikinis and half dressed. You can go to the gym and you can see people working up a sweat. Now, the gym is really a place where, I mean, I'm not going to lie. If I walk past and some people are working at a gym, I'll have a little look. I know it does look, because it's human nature. You see
Human
someone
nature.
working out, they're not wearing much, your eyes will be drawn to it. I'm not going to obviously go into the gym and stuff, but I'll look because that's human nature. So on social media, unfortunately, there's so many visual images, and some of those images are showing people at their best. So you've got beauty, what they're wearing is perfect. They're not, or what they're not wearing. But the other part of it is it's the buzz that people get from the secrecy. So it might be you're jumping in someone's DMs, or the amount of messages over the years since I've been on Facebook from people who I can see clearly are married, the amount of times I've had to block people on my business pages on Instagram and on Facebook, and on YouTube for inappropriate messages. Can't count, I've lost count now. But this is the point. People think it's okay because they think, well, I'm not doing anything wrong, but you are doing something wrong. And they think it's not cheating because they'll say, well, I'm never going to meet this person, so I can drop into their DMs and say, you're beautiful, what's your number, let's meet up on WhatsApp. Or oh, you're sexy, your profile pic looks good. It's still, you wouldn't do that if you people don't realize, they don't think it's cheating. People will go into someone's DMs and say stuff on Instagram that they would never probably say in real life. But they think it's not cheating. So that's one thing. It's also trust, because me personally, I don't need to know someone's password if I'm dating them, their social media passwords. I don't know need to see who they've liked or what posts they've looked at, because it's not my job to police another person. I'm not their prisoner. Do you know what I mean? I'm not their it is prisoner. I'm not their jailer. Do you know what I mean? People should have the freedom. So if you've got the trust, then you shouldn't really be worrying about how many girls is in your partner's friends list, or how many likes they did on Instagram. It's a deeper issue that's there. If you trust that person enough, then really it's just about, it doesn't matter if he's liked a post. That doesn't mean he's going to go off and cheat. But as you said, but it's accessible. So it still comes down to trust. Everything comes down to trust, really.
Wow, wow. And I can tell you with social media, I see so many people putting so much inappropriate stuff out there, just,
Yeah.
I mean, very erotic or just very indecent exposure of themselves. And then at the same time, then I realize, okay, if you're in a relationship, you are still putting yourself out there profiling like you're interviewing for other people to come at you. But then you get
Mm.
mad when somebody DMs you, but you dress very inappropriate out there now to a certain degree, And I know some people say, well, I'm trying to, have confidence and it's nothing wrong with somebody being sexy or looking good. True, but then there's also a boundary with that too, especially if you are in a relationship. Now, every relationship is different. What goes, some people are different, some people don't care. But if you are in a monogamous relationship and that
Mm.
partner really values, hey, you being with me being with you, and we honor and have integrity with the relationship, then, and I may be wrong, I'm maybe put my personal opinion on this, but I think it should not be where you put your whole self out there, you know.
I get what you're saying. There's, I think it's all levels, isn't it? So a single person, because how I see it is that it's about respect, isn't it? What you're trying to say. So if you respect your relationship, then it's the same as if someone shouldn't really be posting, maybe being overly flirty on Facebook. So you wouldn't expect if someone is married or in a relationship to be putting, as I've said, inappropriate messages in people's inbox or even on the, I would probably feel jealous if my partner maybe put an like overly flirty comment on someone else's thing if I was in a relationship, because then you'd be thinking, oh, that's a bit disrespectful, because not only is it public that they're doing that, but it's overly flirty as well. But I think dress wise, I think it's a tricky one. It's like it's a tough one, because if that person, like you said, is confident and they dress in that way anyway, say that someone met someone dressing quite provocative, then even if they get married, then they might say, well, I'm not toning down how I dress, because that's how you met me. So say like a Kim K like situation with like Kanye trying to say, this is what I want you to wear, something. And it's kind of like, but I do get it as well that maybe as a person, you might say to now that I am married or now that I'm in a relationship, I choose not to like show myself in that way. But I think it still has to be an individual decision, and you have to have the respect and the trust. If you've got the respect and the trust, you're going to be there clapping for your partner and saying, do you know what, you look good in that dress fits you in all the right places. So wherever you put a picture, I don't mind, because I know that that's who you are, and I know that I've got nothing to fear. But I understand what you're saying though.
Yeah. It's interesting because certain people say, hey, I don't care, I don't mind. I know this person coming back home to me. I mean, just it's just how it is. But then some people's like, you gonna put some clothes on.
Yeah.
Not in those pictures like that. But to each his own, there's
Yeah.
no judgment, to what people do. But I have my boundaries.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's good. And I think as a couple, it's between the two of you. As a couple, it's about sort of being honest. If you say to your partner, um, honey, I like what you're wearing, but I think it's a bit too see-through. Can you cover up and put something else on? Or most people in relationships, they'll say, what do you think of what I'm wearing? And they'll get advice or they might listen. I think it's yeah, for me personally, it's about the couple. So if I'm in a relationship with someone, I'll dress and then I'll ask them what they think. But if it's something I really like and I love it, then I'll just have to convince them to like, I want to wear it. Because I don't want anyone to say, no, go and get changed, because I'll be like, no, I want to wear this. But I get what you're saying completely, because even I know the difference when I've been in a relationship and when I've been single. And there are probably things I'll say, oh, maybe I won't wear that, or maybe I won't flirt so much, or maybe it's just respect. But everyone's different. Yeah.
Everyone's different. So true. Now, this is a juicy question here as a counselor. When you have those couples or married folks in your office, what is the thing that's like the secrecy that people are hiding that you notice that they're not being honest about within that relationship?
Okay. body language, you can tell a lot from body language. And I'm really good at that because I've been studying body language for years. And even when I'm watching programs, I'll tell you, I can tell if a group, a pop group is probably not going to last just by the way that, just by the photos when you see that they're trying to smile for the cameras, but their body language is saying stay away from me type thing. Or I could see with couples as well, like with Katie Price, and you might not know these people, Katie Price and Peter Andre. You might not have heard of them, you're American, but they were a big couple and they're well known. But the way they used to speak to each other, take it too far, like no boundaries. So people can argue, but when you go too far, where you take it to that level, the respect is going to be gone. So you can tell, I think, with couples, when I'm sat in front of them, it's usually body language. So if the partner is talking and then the other one is either rolling their eyes or they're looking at them like this, or they're like, that's not true, or they're there's no respect, they're interrupting them a lot, or they're just being not demeaning, but just dismissive and stuff. There's like a level of not resentment, but almost like, oh, who are you? Like, yeah, what's that word called? Where it's just, oh, not giving the respect, the level of respect. There's things like that. There's also when couples are talking and it gets too heavy and too heated, and one person either walks out or tries to stop the conversation, that's an issue. Because if you've come for couples counselling, you need to put it all out there. And I've been in lots of sessions where they're not prepared to do that. One person is going too far, and you can see that they're trying to stop talking about that. Or they'll say, I don't think we should talk about this now. Or it's like you can see in their eyes that, oh, they don't want to be here, they don't want to talk about this. And the other one is if one person wants to be there and the other one doesn't, because I usually will ask, you know, are you both, whose idea was it to come, or are you both willing to be here? And the other one as well that comes up sometimes is someone either turning up early for the appointment on their own and trying to come into the room. I used to get that quite a lot. Can I speak to you on your own first? No, because it's couples counselling. Or try to phone me or email me in between to talk about the other person. And I don't do that either. I say, no, it's couples counselling. You can bring it to the counselling, but I can't speak to you separately. And I've even had a couple only once in the 14 years where who were going back and forth with me individually, trying to get me on side outside the sessions. So then message me, so and so did this, and then the other woman, and I said, I can't do this because it's couples counselling. So I said, I can't talk to you separately like this because it's not going to work.
Wow. So you
Yeah.
actually stopped the session, like, look, we can't do this. Like, you guys got to go
I
back.
said I couldn't work with them together because they couldn't work together in the session, or they would act as though they were, you know, working together, doing everything, but then they'd go off separately and then keep messaging and emailing me and trying to get me talking about each other behind each other's back. And I'm thinking, I can't do this. It's not appropriate. Yeah, it was really, yeah.
Wow, that is hilarious that they do stuff like that. Try to,
But that just tells you the depth of, like, obviously the issues. And I don't mind if you're going to talk about them in couples counselling, but I don't even understand why you would think that you talking about your partner in a negative way to me outside of the therapy room, that I'm going to agree with you, because then isn't that would be unprofessional, first of all, but also you're going to couples counselling, so why are you individually bad mouthing each other? It was just to me, no, it showed me that I don't think I'm the best. I just said I don't think I'm the best counsellor, and then the other person kept begging me, the one person, please, I'll be able to. And then the other one was just saying, I'll pay you more money and all sorts. And then it just got really, yeah, it got really bad. I just said, please, I just need you both not to contact me anymore now. I wish you all the best. I hope you find someone else. But yeah, it got really intense. Luckily, that doesn't happen often. That was rare.
wow.
Yeah.
This leads to my next juicy question. Out of those two, from each sex, who has like the most secrecies between men and women, as you know, as a counselor?
No, they can't choose between men and women, because I think it's both. I think that how men and women hide their secrets is different, because a man will a man will do, a man's rationale for hiding things from his wife or partner will usually be because he feels he doesn't want to hurt them. So if they get, say, if he's gambling or if he's secretly drinking or if he's got another woman, his main objective will be, in his mind, it's like a rationale. I want to protect my wife from this, so she doesn't have to know that, like, we're going to lose the house because of my gambling, or I'm going to protect her. He won't say it in that way, but that's his like mentality. I'm going to protect her from knowing that I'm cheating, so I'll make sure I set up my mistress over there. I'm going to protect her from my drinking habits, but so he doesn't think that he's either going to get caught or that the secret is worth sharing because he wants to protect. Whereas with a woman, if they're keeping a secret, it's more of I don't even know what would be the rationale if a woman was cheating or keeping secrets. I think it would be more of they're either maybe getting back at the partner, so it's like, well, he cheated on me, so I'm going to cheat now, and I don't need to like feel bad about it because he did it to me first. Or it could just be I'm going to do this because it feels good and I deserve it. And like my friends have all told, there's just the rationale is more different. I'm not saying that's for everyone because I'm generalizing here, but I'd say that sometimes, I'm not saying for everyone, I'm not talking about any of my clients in specific, I'm just saying that's like partly the rationale sometimes.
Ooh. Yeah, that is interesting because you said from the male aspect, he's doing to protect her, and I guess
Well, he
maybe
thinks it. Well, if you watch these programs like Marriage Boot Camp or all of the ones where they've cheated or where think they've got caught out with things, they're always saying, "Well, I didn't want to hurt you, and I didn't want you to know, and I didn't. It didn't mean anything." So they're trying to justify it because they're trying to say in their mind that I still love you. Do you know what I mean? She didn't mean anything to me, and it's all these justifications. Oh, I knew that when I was gambling that I was putting the house at risk, but I was doing it so that I could get more money. It's always the justification is always like it wasn't intentional to you. It's like they're separate. So in that book, which says men are like waffles, women are like spaghetti. So men can compartmentalize things by saying this does not impact on the relationship because it's over there somewhere. Whereas for a woman, the spaghetti part is they're going all over the place, but they see everything that's linked as well. So a woman will never separate. If she's cheating, she's going to know that if my man finds out about this, it's going to really hurt. But you know what? This feels good, or I don't care if it hurts him. You know what I mean? He's done this to me 10 times, so I'm going to do it back type thing. Do you know what I mean? I'm not saying all women. I'm just saying like that's sometimes the rationale.
why do either partner cheat, whether it be a man or woman? Why would they do something like that? The rationale.
Oh wow. Do you know what? There's so many reasons that people cheat. But if you think about it, so some of the common reasons are the buzz of doing something that they know is wrong, and then the buzz of either being caught or not being caught. Everyone sometimes wants to do something and it usually comes because they don't have that buzz in their life from other things. Because if you've got a buzz from other things in your life, you don't need to do anything that causes because they're not thinking, oh, this is going to cause distress to my partner. They're thinking, oh, this feels wrong, going to the pub and taking a stranger home, this feels wrong, but it feels right. You know what I mean? Having sex with a random person, this feels good at the time, but it's still the wrong thing to do. So it's the buzz. Sometimes it's lack of discipline. It's like if someone talks to me or chats me up, then I can't say no. I don't have the strength, the mental strength or the character to say no. Partly it's if they don't feel that they're getting what they need at home. Instead of communicating to me, if you can't communicate to your partner what you need or what you're not getting, then you can't really use that as an excuse. Well, I cheated because you wasn't having sex with me, or I cheated because we were arguing. I mean, you know what I mean? Other times it's opportunity. If someone's working far from home or they have lots of business trips and they just really feel I'm apart from my partner a lot, or maybe you'd be surprised how many people cheat when their partners are pregnant. because there's just not accessibility, or maybe their partners they either don't feel attracted to them in that state, or they feel they can't have as much sex or the sex that they want. It could be that they're not getting the type of sex that they want or intimacy, and they can go somewhere and find a person who will. There's hundreds of reasons. None of them are justified, but they're all there. They're all none are justified, really, if you think about it.
No, not really. And they're trying to justify getting their rocks off.
But but it's a natural thing and that's why I think it's if it, as a person, you don't have to suppress how you naturally feel. Like I just said there, if I see a nice body on the beach, or I'll go on Facebook and see a nice picture of a bunch of men with their tops up, or I'll walk past the gym, I'll look. I'm human. But you know what? My discipline as a person means that I've never cheated in any relationship, because my feeling is that if I don't want to be with that person, then I'll leave. There's nothing holding me to that person. So what's the point in cheating? Because if I cheat, then what I'm saying is that I'm not brave enough to leave you because I'm coming back to you after I've cheated. I'm not strong enough to have self-discipline, which says, yeah, I'm attracted. I've been attracted to men when I've been in relationships. You might go to a restaurant, or you might bump into someone and think, oh, he's attractive, or I'm not going to act on it. We can't just act on our feelings all the time. That's what cheating really is. It's like, oh, I've got an urge to have sex, so I'm just going to have sex. Oh, I fancy this person, so I'm just going to sleep with them. I'm lonely and I'm at a business meeting way far from home. No one's going to find out, so I'm just going to cheat. There's no reason to do it, because if you respect your relationship, what you'll say, you'll stop and you'll think, I could do it, but I'm not going to, could get away with it, but I'm not going to choose. So that's the strongest thing you can do as a human being, is to know that you could, even if you never get found out, you could cheat, but you're choosing not to.
Wow. I think it's one of those things that rush, that euphoria in the brain. Like people think, okay, I'm not going to get caught. It's just a rush of not getting caught. But then they have the thing back in head, what if I do get caught? So it's like,
that's a buzz as well. That's a buzz, because sometimes people that's what they like, the idea that I could get caught. And that's why when people cheat with their family member, their sister, who cheats with someone's best friend, because the likelihood has just gone all the way up there. Or people who cheat at work, or people who cheat in public spaces, or that's the risk, isn't it? Yeah, let's just quickly go into the bathroom, or we're at a party where everyone knows us, but let's just go into the garden. Or then it is that thrill, that buzz of maybe someone might see us together, holding hands. Or maybe under people. What about people who sit under the table and they're like touching people under? I mean, I personally, that's more than a risk. Do you know what I mean? But that's the buzz, isn't it? Because the closer it gets to you maybe getting caught, the body, the adrenaline starts pumping. Yeah, my wife might walk in any minute. She's at work, but I'm still gonna. Who has like cheats in your family home? This is what people are doing in your wife's bed. You're cheating. You know that there's a possibility that they're going to know, but they're still doing it because it's the buzz, isn't it? Yeah, we're having sex in our family home, and we might get caught. That's why things like Cheaters and those programs are so popular, because everyone wants to watch that, because it's that. Yeah, I want to see if someone gets caught. So yeah, it is. It's psychological in a way.
Wow. Man, this interview has been amazing. We might have to do a part 2 to this.
Yeah. Let's do a part 2, yeah. It's gone really quick as well, but yeah, you asked some really good questions, but yeah, let's do a part 2, yeah.
Yeah, this is maybe the next juicy one about it.
Okay, but no, it's been nice speaking to you, Reggie, as always. So,
and also, how can people get in contact with you on the amazing work that you're doing?
Yeah, so I've got my Facebook page, which is called Marianne Hanson Counselling Service. I've got my YouTube channel, which is the same, Marianne Hanson Counselling Service. They can also find me on Instagram as Coach Marianne Hanson and Marianne Hanson Marianne Hanson Counselor. That's it. Yeah.
And your YouTube and
So,
Facebook, how they find you on there?
yeah, my page is YouTube and Facebook, Marianne Hanson Counselling Service. And then on Instagram, it's just Marianne Hanson Counsellor. Yeah.
Awesome,
So
awesome.
yeah, so it's easy. Yeah.
Cool beans. Well, I appreciate everybody joining us today on this
No
wonderful
problem.
topic. Thank you, Marion. You are awesome at what you're doing. Continue the great work of helping people. I know you
Thank you.
difference in so many people's lives and couples and just people in general and families. So you're doing a great job.
Thanks. Thank you. So I know it's probably about 6 o'clock there, is it? Or something?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
So
11 o'clock, so it's my bedtime.
so take
So
care,
thanks.
everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
Have a
Bye. Yeah.